Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Impact Money Show. Welcome. It is a wonderful morning here. We're coming to you live from the heart of Washington, D.C. If you're tuning in from here, you're waking up to a crisp, sunny morning with temperatures hovering around 35 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the kind of day where the chill in the air reminds us that while winter might be slowly letting go, it's not quite ready to pass the torch to spring. Local news here in DC. Before we dive into today's market movers, let's catch up with the local buzz. Here in Washington, the political scene is heating up with discussions around the upcoming legislative sessions. There's talk of new infrastructure projects aimed at modernizing our public transportation, which could mean better commutes for all of us. And actually now with, of course, this return to work order, traffic has been heating up quite a bit. Additionally, after a series of protests over the weekend, there's increased focus on free speech issues, with local authorities debating new policies to balance public safety and constitutional rights. Now we shift our gaze to the global financial landscape, where the winds of change are blowing in several directions. Bitcoin's recent surge. Starting off with the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin has seen a 1% increase today, continuing its upward trajectory. It's currently trading, and I have it right down there on the ticker as well, at about 97, a little bit of even downturn as we started the show, about 97,600. This could be attributed to several factors. Institutional adoption. There's a clear trend where big players, including banks and institutional funds, are not just dipping their toes, but diving into Bitcoin. This institutional buying is seen as a vote of confidence, potentially driving the demands higher. Macroeconomic environment. With the global economy facing inflationary pressures, Bitcoin is being eyed as digital gold, a hedge against inflation. The ongoing debates about monetary policies and the fear of currency debasement are pushing more investors towards cryptocurrency. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot to unpack there. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we move forward with the show. Technical indicators. From the charts that we're seeing, Bitcoin has broken through significant resistance levels, hinting at a strong technical momentum. Market structure suggests that there might be room to run, especially if this bullish trend holds. We'll have the market report coming up here shortly with the great Matt Dixon. We'll talk more about that. ETF news, over in Japan, there's a buzz about potentially lifting the ban on Bitcoin ETFs. This could open the floodgates of investment into the crypto space. Although we're yet to see immediate effects of today's price movements. Supply and demand dynamics. With the Bitcoin halving just happening, the supply side of the equation is getting tighter. Historically, this is a bullish sign for price increases. The short-term outlook for Bitcoin, volatility. Remember, Bitcoin is like a roller coaster. That's why they say hodl, not hold, right? Hold, but hodl. The reason they say hodl is it's hold on for dear life. That's what hodl stands for, hold on for dear life. Trust me, it has been like that since the beginning with the Bitcoins. Volatility. Today's gains could be tomorrow's losses if the market sentiment shifts. So I always say take your profits. They're not profits unless you book them, right? That's what I say. Medium to long term. The outlook looks positive with institutional involvement likely to keep pushing up prices upwards, but always keep an eye on regulatory change or global economic shifts that could alter this course. Some of the risks are liquidity issues and policy uncertainties that remain potential soil sports in the game. I have brought up this liquidity issue a number of times. It doesn't appear to be affecting the market so much right now. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But with the massive cuts coming from Doge, Elon Musk, and the great President Trump, we'll have to see how that all plays out in the markets. They're talking about removing over one third of the US dollars that go into circulation every year from the budget. That could have a massive effect. Should have a massive effect. The dollar, the US dollar, and the banking cartel, also known as the Federal Reserve. Moving towards traditional finance, the US dollar DXY is up slightly at 0.15%. This comes at a time when the Federal Reserve, this banking cartel, is under more scrutiny than ever. President Trump has enlisted Elon Musk to audit the Fed, highlighting the public demand for transparency. Elon Musk is advocating for Ron Paul to do it. Now, a lot of you guys aren't old enough to remember when Ron Paul ran for office, but when Ron Paul ran for president, he should have won. I mean, he had it. He had it. And they totally just blacked him out on the media and on radio and everything else. And they just, bam, they like memory hold him. It was really something else. It was something else to watch. But the great Ron Paul, he's been advocating to end the Fed for a long time. I normally have end the Fed behind me, as you guys know, end the Fed. But, of course, now we have this great Global Family Office Investment Summit coming up in Miami, February 18th and 19th. And we are working it. We're about 9 days away, and we are working it hard. If you want to come and you want to meet these wonderful people, we want to see you there as well. Despite the calls for a comprehensive audit, well, first of all, let me talk about this. The control over the money supply, the banking cartel, which is also known as the Federal Reserve, dictates how much money is in circulation through its policies, from interest rate adjustment to printing more money, directly impacting inflation and the economy's health. The audit history is laughable. Despite calls for a comprehensive audit, the Fed has never been fully transparent about its monetary policy decisions. This push for an audit reflects a growing distrust among the public and policymakers. And it's interesting because all roads lead to the banking cartel. They all lead to the Federal Reserve. So it was only a matter of time as Elon Musk, Doge, and President Trump were auditing this and that, and then they were in the Treasury as well. They're going to get to the Federal Reserve soon. You can't audit the Treasury with all the fraud and everything there and not then go to the Federal Reserve. I mean, the Federal Reserve they're the ones. They are the ones. Jerome Powell's stance. Powell has emphasized the importance of the Fed's independence, the banking cartel's independence, meaning standing above the Constitution, above U.S. law, actually ruling us, okay? That's what it means. Suggesting that political audits could undermine economic stability. Inflation and money printing. Critics argue that the Fed's policies, especially the printing of money, have led to inflation by diluting the dollar's value. Of course, that's one of the things we talk about on the show all the time, which essentially is a hidden tax on everyone. The end of the Fed's dominion. While calls for reform are loud, significant changes to the Fed's operations would require monumental legislative effort. Whether we're nearing the end of the current form of control is still up for debate. It certainly is past time. It's past time, folks. Very much past time. The yen and the carry trade. Switching gears to the Forex, the Japanese yen is up about 0.5%. The movement is particularly interesting due to Japan's monetary policy shifts. The interest rate adjustments. After years of negative rates, Japan's central bank has begun to nudge rates upward, impacting the carry trade, where investors borrow in yen to invest in higher yielding assets elsewhere. And just to break that down, very easy for everybody to understand. You borrow the yen at zero interest, and then you use that in order to, or it was zero interest or even negative interest for a long time. Now it's still very low. But you borrow the money there, so you don't have to pay interest on it, and then you use that to invest in higher yielding assets. Unwinding of the carry trade, though, this policy change has led, that's called the carry trade. Borrow the yen and then trade it. Okay, it's called the carry trade. This policy change has led to the reevaluation of these trades, with investors buying back yen, which in turn strengthens its value. Speculative trading. The market is also reacting to the expectation of further rate hikes, influencing speculative moods. moves, which would make a stronger yen. And of course, if we have this unwinding, I mean, we saw like 6 months ago, 5 or 6 months ago, when they raised rates, I think for the first time in 17 years. I mean, the markets fell out. Bitcoin dropped 20%. I mean, it was really, they say, oh, there's blood in the streets, man. There was blood everywhere. It was just, if you were lucky enough to open a big short at the beginning of that, you made a lot of money. It was a good move. Gold and silver's performance in the commodities markets. Gold is up about 1.34%, and silver is up about 0.8%, despite the slight uptick in the dollar. What is driving this? Well, safe haven appeal. Investors might be seeking a refuge in precious metals amidst the economic uncertainties. We have been large proponents of getting involved, getting some exposure to gold since the beginning of this show over a year ago, gold and silver, and it has been one of our best calls for sure, or one of our great calls, I should say. We've made a lot of great calls. Inflation expectations. With fear of rising inflations, gold and silver are seen as hedges. Now, there is the view held by many of us that even though we have all of this fraud and waste and everything being sucked away by Trump and Elon, that there may come a time, if recession comes more and more apparent, that they're going to start printing up money again in order to dig us out. And that is a real possibility. The monetary policy and anticipation of dovish policies, lower interest rates from the central bank worldwide, could keep these metals at an upward trajectory. So we are still bullish on these on precious metals. Super Bowl, a political touchdown. I think it was Super Bowl 45 or something like that. I don't know which one it is. I don't really watch that stuff, to be honest with you. I never did. It's a whole, what do they call it? Bread and circus. I never got into I never did it. I don't know. I love to play. I love to play hockey. I love to play different sports. But man, I watching them, although I do like to watch hockey. And now for a lighter note, or perhaps not so light, considering the political implications. President Trump made history by attending the Super Bowl, where the Philadelphia Eagles trounced the Kansas City Chiefs. The game, an upset victory for the Eagles. I mean, it was a blowout. My wife had the game on, so I got a little bit of it going on. With Jalen Hurts leading a masterclass in quarterback play. The commercials, all right, we got to talk about the commercials. Notably, Elon Musk spent a fortune on ads focusing on government waste, showcasing his influence beyond technology. The audience reaction. Trump received a mixed reception, cheered by some, booed by others, reflecting America's political divide. Even pop icon Taylor Swift faced the crowd's wrath, possibly due to team loyalties rather than personal dislike. And let's face it, she really came out against Trump. So you had Trump there, which I didn't really hear so many boos. I heard cheers, and then of course boos for her. I wasn't around for that. I just saw replays. When you see the replays on X, you just never know. Like, did they add the boos or did they add the cheers? I don't know. I don't know. Asian markets and global influence. But hey, look, if you watched it, it's a great American pastime, right? These guys, I never really did watch it. When I was a kid, maybe this and that, but once they started kneeling, they kind of lost me. They could get me back, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Football it's kind of slow moving for me, but that's okay. If you like it, I'm glad you do, and I would definitely should go to a Super Bowl. I think in the coming future. Maybe if the Redskins or the Cowboys or whatever they call themselves now, the Commanders, make it to the Super Bowl, I'll go. The Asian markets and global influences. Asian markets today are a mixed bag, with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange leading the charge, up by 1.35%. They've been on a pretty good run. The global sentiment, U.S. economic policies, especially those hinting at trade tensions, are casting a long shadows over the Asian markets. Of course, overnight, I guess overnight is when I really keyed into it. U.S. Trump policies are putting tariffs, 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum coming from outside the U.S. So that will have great effect. I listed some of the stocks. I might pull them up a little bit later. some of the U.S. stocks in steel and aluminum. You might want to look into those, although be careful. A lot of them look like they had already moved, and we're now on the buy the rumor, sell the news event. But if those also as well, Trump is always like negotiating stuff, so you never know if the tariffs are going to stay. You know what I mean? So you don't want to be caught out. Currency fluctuations. The dollar's rise might affect export-led economies like Japan and China. And policy adjustments from rate hikes in Japan to stimulus in China. Local policies are playing catch-up with the global trends. Of course, this is the Asian markets. The oil markets is a balancing act. Oil prices are up 1.13%, yet pump prices are falling. What gives? Supply and demand. OPEC is playing the long game with production cuts while non-OPEC supply grows. Geopolitical risk, you have tensions, particularly with Iran, that could spike the price if escalation occurs. You have the economic signals, the balance between economy and recovery and inflation control by the central banks will dictate oil's direction. Crypto regulation in Japan. This could be some big news. We'll see how it all plays out. Japan is considering a major overhaul in its crypto regulations, focusing on ETFs and tax policies. The regulatory overview aiming to align crypto regulations with financial instruments, potentially lowering taxes on gains to encourage investments. The ETFs, the introduction of crypto ETFs, could legitimize and increase investment in digital assets. Turning to Musk versus Malema, a global debate. Elon Musk and Julius Malema's clash over racial rhetoric in South Africa has sparked international conversation. Historical context, Malema's use of the struggle, this is in South Africa, this is South Africa, I think he's the president, use of the struggle songs versus Musk's accusations of promoting racial hatred, showcasing a complex interplay of history and modern politics. It's really a nice way of saying it. I mean, I think they're saying kill the Boer, which means kill the white people. I'm not sure how that can be really seen as anything other than not good. Anyway, global implications. The debate highlights the challenges of free speech and hate speech. I don't really believe in all that hate speech stuff, but on the global stage, it's Trump has now pulled all funding. We're not sending any aid over there, which we shouldn't have been sending any aid over there anyway. But that has stopped. And now that the pressure is being put on South Africa, hopefully they'll stop killing the white farmers, which seems to be their MO. And they will move to, that's got to stop. It's got to stop. Now, this is pretty interesting. Overnight, I started to see this story. I don't know if it's true. Shapiro and Trump, unsubstantiated allegations linking Josh Shapiro to the assassination plot against Trump are circulating, with or without substantial evidence. Social media, these claims are predominantly from posts on X, lacking corroboration from credible sources. So far, in the political climate, such allegations feed into the polarized political environment, underscoring the need for critical examination of information. I have not seen anything concrete on that. So tread carefully and think critically. Okay, think critically. Putin's latest moves. Vladimir Putin continues to be a focal point in global news. In the Ukraine conflict, discussions around peace or further aggression are on everyone's mind. Domestic issues, the infrastructure problems in Russia suggest underlying challenges. And the diplomatic endeavors, from strengthening ties with India to comments on Europe's future under Trump's policies, Putin's actions are being closely watched. With Trump Gaza's proposal, controversy ensues. I mean, you can't keep those. If you think you can't keep those people happy over there, well, you can't keep anybody happy on this one. I'll tell you that. Trump's plan to redevelop Gaza into a luxury destination by displacing its population has sparked outrage. I mean, I think that is ethnic cleansing, right? I mean, let's just kind of call it what it is, right? I mean, that is ethnic cleansing, right? You move all the people. I think that's ethnic cleansing. I don't know. I think so. Human rights concerns labeled as ethnic cleansing by various organizations. International reaction, strong opposition to Arab countries and human rights bodies, strong opposition from them. We'll see. I don't put anything past Trump. this guy, you don't want to bet against him. You don't want to bet against Trump. You don't want to bet against Elon. That much is real obvious, right? You do not want to bet against these guys. I hope they're not. I hope Trump is not biting off more than he can chew on this whole Gaza thing. It just seems to me absolutely crazy. We're going to go in there and occupy this place. And I know he says we're not going to do that. You know, the other thing about Trump is he's always negotiating, right? It's always a negotiation. So who knows what the end product will be? It's just impossible to tell really at this point. In AI and robotics, the future unfolds. AI is transforming journalism, finance, and even military applications. AI in the media, entire news channels run by AI raise questions about authenticity. In robotics, from humanoid breakthroughs to AI and firefighting, the sector is booming. Free speech in the UK and Europe is a balancing act, to say the least. Lastly, the debate over free speech continues to evolve. UK concerns over potential restrictions with new definitions of all types of different terms. I mean, they're jailing people for all kinds of stuff. In Europe, the EU's Digital Services Act is seen by some as a curb on online freedoms. It really is something else to see what they've done over there. You know, someone brought it up the other day. I think I was watching. It was the great Tucker. And I know, I don't watch so much stuff, but of course I caught a bit of that. And he says he was on there with Piers Morgan, and he says, "Well, you guys supposedly won World War II, but you lost all your guns and you lost your freedom. You can't even talk. You can't speak freely, and you can't own any guns to protect yourself. So how do you call that winning?" And Piers Morgan, we can do what we want. No, you can't. You can't own a gun. You can't protect yourself, and you can't you can't speak freely. They'll come knocking on your door. It was pretty interesting conversation. You know, there's not many times. I mean, Piers Morgan, that guy, he's always got something to say, right? There's not much time when he doesn't have something to say. He was kind of hubba. It was interesting. It was an interesting back and forth. I have with me here, if I can drop it in the right place here, is it? Boom. I have with me here the Market Watch report from the great Matt Dixon. Let's dive into the markets here. Let's see what the charts are telling us using Elliott Wave analysis, the Fibonacci numbers, and all this good stuff. There's the Market Watch report with the great Matt Dixon. I recorded version of it today. Here we are.
Good morning, Bruce. Morning, Impact Money viewers. Hope you all had a great weekend. So the markets are reasonably positive today. You can probably see on the right-hand side here, there's lots of green there. The only one actually is BNB on my watch list, which is in the negative. But in general, anyway, everything's looking reasonably positive. Looking quite hopeful. If you remember on Friday, we said maybe opportunities to dollar cost average to buy in at lower levels. Whenever there's a dip, I was suggesting perhaps buy the dip. I mean, we can see even just looking on this Bitcoin chart, this is the 4-hour chart where each candle represents a 4-hour duration. So on the 4-hour chart, we can see the movement down is very corrective. In other words, it's overlapping. There's no straight movement. Like, for example, the movement up here seem to be more impulsive than moving down. You can see every movement up, for example, here overlap the previous movement down here, and so on all the way. So it's very much corrective movement, which tells me that we still have more upside to come, which should take us to new all-time highs for Bitcoin. But we can't deduce yet whether we have a further movement down to go, or whether we'll move straight to the upside. So just to scroll out a little bit to show you what I'm talking about, and we've said this a number of times, that this movement down here, which I currently have labeled as wave A, could actually be a complete ABC move down. So the correction could already be complete here, and then we could already be moving impulsively to the upside with the correction down and straight up again. So there's a couple of alternatives there, both reasonably bullish in the slightly longer term, but short term, there's a bit of uncertainty as to whether we are going to head straight to the upside or whether we'll get another push to the downside. So with all that in mind, I think it might be useful at the beginning of the week now to go through some of the economic data that's due over the coming week. So I think at the moment, the market is a little bit tongue-tied, as it were, not knowing quite where to go. So I think it's data dependent, as the Fed so often says, with their decision-making, they're data dependent. And I think that the direction of crypto and risk assets is data dependent at the moment. So I'm just going to go into the economic calendar here. And starting with tomorrow, there's nothing due today, nothing of note due today anyway out of America. And America is the one that seems to drive most of the markets. But we do keep an eye on what's happening elsewhere. Obviously, America is often measured like in the basket of currencies. The dollar index is measured against other currencies, mainly the euro. So we do look at euro, we look at Japan, which is the main carry trade there with the Japanese yen. So we do look at others. So next main news, obviously, is tomorrow night. It's the 10th today. This is the 11th. So looking at tomorrow evening, we have Fed Chair Powell testimony. So just to open out on that, we can see that they decide on changes in interest rates, etc. And the testimony is their view on the market at the moment. So moving on from there, we move on to the 12th. And that's actually, it's going to be a very important day. This is Wednesday, the 12th, a couple of days' time. It's going to be very important because we have core inflation. So CPI is due out on Wednesday. Now we can see here the previous reading of 0.2%. This is the core month on month. And we're expecting a forecast of 0.3%. So they're expecting a tick higher in the core inflation. So that's quite interesting. A tick higher there, but it's actually looking to be mixed data because we actually have on the overall inflation, we actually have it heading a little bit lower. And inflation, year-on-year inflation is expected to hold steady. So what really matters is not the particular levels that are predicted here, but actually whether we meet or beat or fail to meet the forecasts. So we need to watch carefully. You know, as I say, we're data dependent. So if we don't meet the expectations that are here in this row here, if we don't meet those expectations, that is going to have an effect. So basically, if we have higher than expected inflation, that will mean that they're less likely to reduce interest rates come next meeting. I think it's March the 18th, the next Fed meeting for the interest rates. So if we had higher than expected inflation, they're less likely to cut rates, more likely to stay on hold. And that's not necessarily going to be market positive. But if inflation were to come in lower than expected, then they're probably more likely to cut rates, and that would be market positive. So let's keep a close eye on that data, and it'll give us a good idea as to what they're going to do with interest rates and how that will impact asset prices like Bitcoin, crypto, S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow, etc. So yeah, again, Fed Chair testimony there. But inflation is the big one. And actually his testimony, I'm sure will take into account what their expectations are with inflation. They're moving on another day to the 13th. I think this is Thursday, 13th. We've got UK GDP, not going to be majorly important to crypto or the markets. Sometimes some data has an impact, but anyway, GDP growth, you can see they're actually expecting to go into negative. I've said for some time, UK economies in the doldrums, got big problems ahead. So yeah, GDP expected altogether negative month on month. It's going to hold steady. So yeah, nothing really to share to call home about there. But we do have some important data out of America later, which will impact the markets, and that's the PPI, producer price inflation. This will have an impact. It's expected to hold steady at 0.2%. This is month on month. So again, we need to keep a close eye on that. That is Thursday the 13th, and then Friday 14th, Valentine's Day. We've got GDP growth out of Europe. And again, Europe won't have a major impact on cryptos or anything, but it does affect currency parity. You know, well, when I say parity, currency relationships with the US dollar in particular. So it's still worth keeping an eye on. So GDP growth expected to fall to 0. So again, they're in the doldrums with growth. They've been lowering interest rates, probably continue to lower rates. But again, they still actually have a bit of a problem with inflation. So got their hands tied a little bit. And then again, moving on to more important data, probably United States retail sales, expected retail sales to fall flat. So they did actually increase by 0.4% last month on month, expected to fall flat for now. So again, potential signs of the US economy may be slowing a little bit. which, again, mixed signals. If the US economy is slowing a little bit, maybe we'll have slightly lower inflation. Maybe that will allow them to reduce rates a little bit. They want to normalize rates. They're actually still higher than what they would call normal rates, sustainable rates in America. So they want to have room to maneuver to lower rates if possible. So maybe a slight slowing. If retail sales remain flat, that's okay. If they start to fall, that's potentially, a bit of too much of a warning sign. So let's just see what that comes out at. And then finally, Japan, again, not a major impact, but their GDP growth previous was 0.2%. That was quarterly growth. Japan have been the one standout which have been raising interest rates, whereas the rest of the world have been lowering interest rates. They've been holding or lowering. Japan are quite serious about tackling inflation. They do not want inflation, and so they've been raising rates. And at some point, the raising of the interest rates in Japan will potentially impact the carry trade. That means that people will have to cash in risk assets like Bitcoin, crypto, and so on, and repay yen loans. If the interest rates rise on yen loans, there'll be less borrowing in yen, so less money available to go into the carry trade supporting risk assets. So it is quite important to keep an eye on what's happening in Japan. So as I say, I think obviously America is the main one to watch with the data there. Japan is very important for me as well, and then Europe and China as well. So that's a bit of an outlook for what we expect data coming week. We've already looked at Bitcoin, as I say, expectations a little bit uncertain short term. We could just head straight higher, or we could have another dip lower. But all I'm saying is, if we dip lower, I think it's just another dollar cost average opportunity. And whenever we see a decent dip in Bitcoin, maybe it's just a chance to buy at a lower price and hold for what we believe will be new all-time highs coming reasonably soon for Bitcoin. So I've got it here, 110 plus, but I'm saying plus. I think actually we'll go substantially higher than there. I think, as I say, if we scroll out a little bit, we'll see this is very much a consolidation move here. We can actually see it bounded by these two channels here. Very much consolidation. So we're right pretty well still in the middle in no man's land there. That's why I say I would wait for we could have DCA'd anywhere near the bottom of the channel is a good area to buy the dips dollar cost average. Once we get mid channel, I tend to keep my powder dry and just wait and see if we see a lower, because risk reward, what I've said before is risk reward is not ideal in the middle of the channel, because the chances of up are the same as the chances of down. It's pretty well 50-50. And if you're in the middle, when you take costs, etc., into account, you're going to be losing money on your trades. So it's not an ideal trade to take. From a risk reward perspective, I would look to buy nearer the bottom of the channel, which appears to be containing price for the time being. Then you have, even if it's 50-50, you can actually put your stop loss just below the channel. So your loss would be potentially small, your gain would be potentially much larger. And so risk reward then becomes very attractive. So this is why I'm always saying it's good to draw channels. It's good to look at supports for whatever reason that support might be there, and use those as risk reward barriers where you can actually set up nice trades where the losses are smaller, the gains are much larger. So that's Bitcoin. Ethereum has been, as you very well know by now, Ethereum is one of my least favorite. It used to be the chain of choice because everything was built on Ethereum. I think more than 90% of other tokens were built on Ethereum. That's no longer the case. Ethereum is now very, very expensive. All the memes, obviously Trump coin, Melania, etc., are built on Solana. So Solana appears to be the retail chain of choice now, and Ethereum is probably too expensive, and there are better choices available now that are just more attractive. So I don't even think that Ethereum will smash its all-time high, whereas I do think a lot of other tokens will. I do think Bitcoin will. I think Solana will, I think XRP will, and many others actually will probably smash their previous all-time highs. But I think it's going to be challenging for Ethereum. We'll see. I know some people are still die-hard Ethereum enthusiasts, but I'm not one of them. I think there are better opportunities out there to be had. One thing, maybe I'll just go back a moment to Bitcoin. Let me just see. Maybe it was a longer chart. Maybe it's another chart I was looking at, actually. There was some bearish divergence showing. I mean, we have bearish divergence, by the way, long term on Bitcoin. So I might as well show that now, I just mentioned. So we've got long-term bearish divergence. We can see here, for example, let's move that along a little bit. We can see that the RSI peaks, even here, I mean, let's just focus on this final bit here. RSI peaks are substantially lower here, and we can see corresponding price peaks. I'll just move this one over here for you to see. The corresponding price peaks to there are substantially higher. So we can see much higher prices, much lower volumes. That shows that the higher prices are not necessarily supported by volume. We also, I think we're in a final fifth wave move here. And the final fifth wave itself is made up of 5 waves. So we see here 1, 2, 3, maybe still working on 4, and probably a fifth wave higher to go. So that's what I'm talking about. I do think we have some new all-time highs to come in this final fifth wave that I've got labeled up here, somewhere around here. So final fifth wave higher to go. So as I say, whether it's from here straight away or whether we dip a little bit lower, either way, I still expect a final fifth wave higher to complete. And that would align quite nicely with continued regular bearish divergence, telling us that a turn is there or thereabouts to expect reasonably soon. Jump into Solana. It's actually had a nice little run lately. There we can see again, we've got some bearish divergence in place. So I think Solana, actually, I'm on a daily. We still have bearish divergence in place, but I'm going to the 4-hour, just as we can see probably a bit more detail in the shorter term. So there's that triangle that we're always talking about, which gives me the clue that this is a corrective move to the downside. So we have an A, triangle B, and a C wave down. C wave itself can be made up of 5 waves, should be made up of 5 waves. So again, you'd have to break it down shorter term to see whether the end is there or whether we have one more dip to go. Little clue for me is, and this was the divergence I was looking at actually, we have currently 3 waves higher, but we also have bearish divergence in place. But this one isn't regular bearish. This one is called hidden bearish divergence. It's where you get lower highs on the price, but higher highs on corresponding RSI. And it's called hidden bearish divergence. And it tells you of a continuation of downward prices. So this one isn't a reversal. This is a continuation of the downtrend on price. So this is why I'm kind of still entertaining the possibility that we may have one more low to go to complete the wave 4. The wave 4 would then be somewhere over here, perhaps. So I'm still entertaining this as a good possibility. And as we always say, the market is full of possibilities, and every possibility has a probability assigned to it. And I would say at the moment, it's actually about a 50-50 probability as to whether we go down further or whether we go straight back up. So again, it's middle of the road, kind of this consolidation here to here. So I keep my powder dry. If it dips lower, I would definitely be looking at dollar cost averaging, thinking that this is probably the final move down to complete the wave 4, and then we push up to new all-time highs in a wave 5. That is my core expectation for the time being. So as I say, you should have dollar cost averaged around here with the wick down here. And if it dips down again, another chance to dollar cost average, I would say, with the expectation that we should have new all-time highs to come. Similar story for XRP. Again, we've moved up quite nicely. It's hard to say, but it looks as though we may still have another dip down to go before we push impulsively higher. I probably need to scroll out a bit to show you what we're talking about. Probably even more than that, actually. I'll go on to daily, I think, just to show you a slightly longer term view. So we can see XRP has been moving impulsively to the upside, quite substantially impulsively to the upside here. And this movement down, I think, is corrective for the time being. It looks like a 3-wave move down. So it's a 3-3-5, so a flat correction down. So I think we're actually, we still have plenty of room. The actual support for this would actually be the bottom of this wick, so much, much lower. So I would actually wait again. You can see we're pretty well middle of the price range here. I would once again wait for a test lower to dollar cost average. So I would have DCA'd around this dip down here. But again, right now, I'd be keeping my powder dry. If it dips lower, I'd DCA. If it doesn't, then hopefully what you DCA'd in down here, you can ride higher. I do think that XRP has new all-time highs to come. So oil has been, and actually this has an impact on the inflation, the CPI figures, whether it's core, whether they include the price of energy and, those volatile items. So oil has an impact on that. So actually, remember the CPI figures are basically backward looking back a month. And over the last month, we did actually have a peak in oil at $80. We're currently now down at $71. So maybe the increased CPI might be due to this increase in oil price here. And maybe now we're seeing a fall in oil. That will probably reflect in next time we see CPI figures. So it is important to keep an eye on oil. At the moment, we seem to be having a series of lower lows and lower highs. So I'm expecting most probably the support line here, we may at least retest that to the downside. So at the moment, I'm bearish on oil. And if we were to break through that support, I think actually we could go potentially a lot lower on oil. So that would reflect a lower expectation for economic growth, but also we do seem to have an oversupply in the market. So both sides of the equation are actually working in favor of lower oil prices. So as long as we don't have any major geopolitical issues, then I would expect there to be lower oil prices. And that's probably good for inflation, and it might be good for a final move up in risk assets. So let's see. Gold has had a nice pump again. Actually, according to expectation, we said we had it labeled as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is actually a smaller cycle within a larger cycle higher. So I said I expect higher new all-time highs to come for gold. That's precisely what's happening. I actually had a minimum initial target of 3,000, if you remember. One of my earlier shows got it here, just over 3,000. That's a minimum upside target. From there, we could get some sort of ABC pullback. I still probably expect higher again after that. So again, I wouldn't be chasing prices higher. We can see I have basically this movement up here in a C wave. I wouldn't be chasing prices higher because I think we're approaching potentially a potential turning point. Whether it's long or short term, we need to look at all the fractals and see what level we're at. But for the time being, I am expecting higher, but I wouldn't be chasing it higher. As I say, when you saw that wave 4 down, that was the chance to buy in and dollar cost average. But for now, whilst I do expect higher prices, I think we should get a bit of a correction down. And dollar index, is actually showing bit of power at the moment. Dollar's pretty strong right now. But again, let's see what happens with CPI. That's going to affect the value of the dollar. So that's out on Wednesday. So bit of a roundup for beginning of the week. I think that's probably enough to go on for now. I had a friend actually who bought in Trump coin at 17. It's now 16. He's a big trader. Does some massive positions. So he's bullish. If we do see a turn higher on Bitcoin to all-time highs, no doubt the rest of them will follow, including the memes. So at the moment, as I say, everything's looking reasonably positive apart from BNB, which for some reasons taking a bit of a break from the rises. So as I say, that's the summary for the week. Give us something to look forward to during the week in terms of the economic data. And that's probably what's going to drive crypto prices for the time being. So let's hope there's no more geopolitical issues. Let's hope the economy stays reasonably buoyant. And thank you for catching up today. Look forward to tomorrow and giving you a further update. So thanks a lot. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.
The great Matt Dixon with the Market Watch Report, world-class analysis that we give on the show every day here, broadcasting from Washington, D.C. We are growing exponentially as well. More and more about that. I wanted to, real quickly, I'm going to play a panel from one of our D.C. inaugural panels, but I just wanted to show you guys booster.live. I'm going to add this up to our screen. So this booster.live, you can use Booster to call people, to do conference calls, you share your screen, or all this type of stuff. Okay, this is brought to you by Global Boost Media. Of course, this show is also brought to you by Global Boost Media. Booster.live, BOOSTR.live, brought to you by Global Boost Media. Free private video calling, simple and secure and fast. Start your next video call with a single click, no download, plugin, or login required. There's no app or anything like that. It's just right here on the web. You just boom. You can even set your own room like that, and then join room. I won't do it. It'll mess up my stream here. You can see here now it's unlimited number of conference rooms and users without call time limitations. We've engineered a platform with maximum video quality and minimum latency for crystal clear video chats compatible across all browsers and platforms. Booster.live delivers secure, responsive communications with features like screen sharing and collaborative whiteboards. Of course, if you like it, you can participate in it by getting some Global Boost coins here, up 48% today. Nice day on the market here, but that's Global Boost BSTY. There, our native coin. We started that 11 years ago, folks. 11 years ago. It has been a heck of a ride. Let me tell you that. And we are, it's one of those things. That's why I'm such a proponent as well as proof of work, because proof of work and you are alive, like your coin or your token is alive. It's proof of work. It's proof of stake, something like that. It is a little bit harder. It's more, what incentive do the people have of kind of not selling if all they have to do is hold a big bag and then they can sell it? Okay. All right. I'm going to play another panel from Washington, our Washington Elite Summit. Not our Washington Elite Summit, the Maha Crypto Leadership Conference and Ball. Queuing it up right here. We have a lot of good stuff. It really was something else. Okay, I just about have it here. Yes, very interesting panel right here. This was led by my man Kevin Bata. I'm going to share this tab.
I appreciate you guys here. I think that wow. Together with the Digital Chamber of Commerce.
Here we are. All right. Last pedal. This is during the inaugural Crypto Leadership Conference that we followed by the Bitcoin inaugural ball.
It has been a heck of a day so far. Of course, we have a call tomorrow. Make sure you hit that QR code, join the WhatsApp group, share all the pictures and everything in there. My good friend, Kevin Bata is going to lead this. You can keep talking for a second, Kevin. Kevin showed up at the first conference we ever threw at the DC Convention Center. And he was like the man on the spot, and he still is. He actually helped us put together what we put together with the Digital Chamber of Commerce. He is the man. So I'm going to call all of the last speakers that are still here up to the stage. Angela Stanton King, Joy Villa here, Stephen Tenner, Michael Hassard, Tor Eklund, Christopher Clegg, Evgeny Mitov, who I haven't seen since Taipei. I know, right? Tim Dillon and Kevin Taylor. Do we need one more chair? I have a chair right in the back. We need one more chair. I got it. Somebody help me. Okay, we have another chair. We have another chair. Coming up. These people are OGs. Original gangsters.
This thing on? Okay. So, thanks, Bruce, you and your brother have been, you guys are the OGs. Bruce started throwing crypto conferences about 10 years ago and was always kind to invite me, and it's been quite a journey. And I'd like to have everybody introduce themselves briefly. But before we do, I just want to take a second and just a pause. Last night I was at the crypto ball downtown, and just felt there was so much happiness and excitement there. It just felt like the culmination of over a decade struggle. And who would have ever thought we'd be where we are now? We have a president coming in who's embraced digital assets, crypto, Bitcoin, and because there's a lot of dark times along the way. And you know, Bruce, you and your brother have been here the whole time. So just I think we should all pat ourselves on the back and maybe a round of applause for people like Bruce who've been working on in this industry for a long time. So so maybe we could start with Tor and just come down and just do a very quick introduction. Sort of the topics that we've got. It's sort of a grab bag: innovation, privacy, regulation. But I think we can append other topics too. So real quick, Tor, we'll start with you and work down.
Yeah, hi, my name's Tor Eklund. I'm a federal criminal defense lawyer for over the last decade. I've primarily defended people who've been accused of computer crimes by the United States government. And recently, I just represented, along with Michael Hazard, Roman Sterlingoff, who unfortunately was just convicted for running Bitcoin Claw, which was a custodial mixer. We're appealing it, and we're convinced he's innocent. And so we've just seen a lot of the heavy-handed regulation, particularly from the left in America, against crypto.
Well, between you two guys, I'll make sure I'm on the best behavior. I'm Tim Dillon. I'm the inventor of live mobile sports betting, micro betting, and dynamic betting odds. I've been working on this patent since 2017. I also have a blockchain cryptocurrency. I have big plans this next year as we move into this next millennium with the president of his coin. We'll be launching 162 coins for each team with so that's a big tall order, but that will come in as a tangible use of this technology. So that's what will be happening in my space.
Wonderful. My name is Michael Hazard. I work with Tor Eklund. I also represented Roman Sterlingoff in this battle against the U.S. government. And one of the things that we were dealing with was a company called Chainalysis, which does opaque blockchain forensics for investigative agencies around the world. And we know for a fact there are multiple, if not into at least the low three figures, people who are wrongfully sitting in prison because of shoddy forensics that have been done by this company. So one of the things that we're advocates for alongside privacy and criminal rights for criminal reform is we need to set standards in the field of digital forensics, especially the digital forensics that are being introduced in federal courts to lock people in prison.
Hello everyone, Gary Mitkov from Seven Seas Capital Management, 11 years in crypto. I've been rolling with all the punches and ups and downs of this industry. And I'm really excited about blockchain technology for a single reason. For the first time in human history, we actually can provide something that doesn't centralize and doesn't enslave people. It actually gives freedom for the first time. And been working on that for 11 years, and hopefully we're in our shiny spot now to deliver it to the population of the world.
How you doing? I'm Stephen Tenner. I don't have any cryptocurrency, believe it or not, but after this weekend, I probably should. I got here by manifesting and healing and tapping into the power that we all have within. My mentor, Ken Close, who's standing right there, you heard him earlier talk about your 800,000 cells. One of my mentors, Greg Braden and Joe Lipton, we'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to, before we get started, I know it's been a long day. You guys want to just stand up and get some energy before you walk out here? Just stand up. You ready? USA! 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 All right. That's it. Well, I'll talk more. Thanks very much. All right. I'm energized. So a lot of great experts up here, and a beautiful book. Maybe Tor and Mike, maybe we could start talking. This is very fascinating to me. The privacy aspect. So quickly, I'll do my intro. Kevin Bate, Bitcoin class of 2013. I'm a derivatives lawyer by training. I was an enforcement trial lawyer, prosecuting market manipulation and fraud in the commodities and futures markets. Got interested in Bitcoin in 13 and sort of changed direction in my career. I do a lot of regulatory strategy, and I know it's a dirty word. You have tomatoes, put them away. I'm a lobbyist. I was the first person to lobby for the blockchain industry in Washington, D.C., and have been doing it for the last 10 years. So we've been pushing the federal regulatory agencies in Congress to come up with sensible regulation that's not going to put people in jail for laws that are unclear. And so we can talk about regulation in the space. But I want to talk with you guys and the whole panel about privacy. One of the things when crypto first came out, when Bitcoin first came out, it's like, it's anonymous, and actually it's not. It's pseudonymous, and there is a trail of everybody's activity, and you have companies like Chainalysis, Ellipsis, TRM Labs, and so how do we split the baby, but how do you navigate law enforcement's stated need to prevent illicit finance, money laundering, et cetera, and our individual rights to privacy as U.S. citizens? You could always transact with a brown paper bag full of $100 bills. Nobody would know unless you told them. Or even from our founding fathers, there's a sense that people had a right to financial privacy against this government's stated, need to know, or need to prevent bad things.
And it's not just the government causing these bad things. I think the best way to describe what's going on here is to give a little background on Roman Sterlingoff and how he wound up in this situation. So Roman got into Bitcoin in 2010 when Bitcoin was 30 cents. So by the time 2011, 2012 come around, he had already made a substantial amount of money with his Bitcoin. He's hanging out at these conferences like this one, doing peer-to-peer transactions. And he discovers that when you do a peer-to-peer transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain, there's a whole bunch of pieces of information that are registered on the blockchain that are publicly viewable, both to the public and the individual that you transacted with. Among those things that are on the blockchain is your sending address, right? If I know your sending address, I can plug it into a block explorer and see how much Bitcoin is in that address. So if you have a lot of money and you're going around to conferences, you're staying at hotels, you're opening yourself up to what they call rent attacks, which are attacks where people physically go to your house and rob you of your Bitcoin and private keys by threatening you with a wrench, right? So this is a risk that Roman realized existed really early on. And so he sought privacy measures in order to protect the wealth that was generated from his wise and early investment into Bitcoin. So he tried a couple of mixers that were online as a user. One of them was a service called Bitcoin Fog, and you use it by accessing it through the Tor network, the dark web as the government likes to call it. And he used that to take Bitcoin from his early Bitcoin addresses and put it into KYC addresses so that he could spend the Bitcoin. Now, when the government takes a look at these KYC addresses through companies like Chainalysis and TRM Labs, they discover that, all this money is going into Roman Sterlingoff's accounts, and the wallets that they're coming from, because the blockchain is public, are related to Bitcoin Fog. So the government accused him of operating Bitcoin Fog, the private mixing service, which we don't think is a crime in the first place. However, the government thinks that's facilitating money laundering, so they slapped that charge on him. He came to Los Angeles because he wanted to go to school in California, flight school. And he's been in jail since the day his plane touched down in Los Angeles airport. The government locked him up pre-trial. They took away all of his funds so he couldn't put together a defense. When we heard about the case, we thought it was ridiculous and started fundraising, and the blockchain community, Bitcoin community in particular, came out for Roman's support, and we were able to fund the defense. We put together a defense, and we had a 5-week criminal trial earlier this year, during which time we were basically allowed to bring in no information from our experts. We were not allowed to look at the blockchain forensics that Chainalysis had done. The entire government investigation process was completely opaque, which we think is unconstitutional, and we'll be taking up on appeal. So right now, Roman has received a sentence of 12.5 years for something that he didn't do. He never operated, he never ran, he never administered Bitcoin Fog. He was simply a user, something that any of us in this room could be. Imagine using a service and 5-10 years later, the US government locks you up for it, thinking that you ran it. You know, this is the situation that Roman finds himself in, and he was handed a 12.5-year sentence at sentencing, and we're hoping to appeal it. And part of what we want to do here is reach out to the right people so that we can potentially, you know, hopefully get him a pardon because he didn't do this, you know, and it comes back to privacy. There are legitimate privacy concerns that every Bitcoin and cryptocurrency user has or should have. And the government is attacking our ability to protect ourselves in the face of national security, which I don't think is a rational trade. And I'll let Tor take it from here.
This is my, Roman's case is my first experience with how the government, particularly DOJ, approaches financial privacy. And there seems to be really deep psychology, which I'm hoping is changing with Trump coming in. And that's something I'm very, very hopeful for, because there seems to be a sea change in the background psychology. But the current regime, and a lot of people in DOJ, SEC, and CFTC, I'm sorry to say, seem to have this view that if you want to keep your financial transactions private, somehow you're a criminal. Because if you didn't have anything to hide, why wouldn't you just show the government? And I think part of this starts with the Bank Secrecy Act in 1970, which is sort of just this insane act that, you know, requires you to disclose all sorts of information. You may have heard of the phrase KYC. Well, what happened with Roman, and one of the reasons that Roman is sitting in jail right now, is he was the only person in 2011, when the government was doing all these, later on traced all these transactions. Roman was the only person who KYC'd, you know your customer. He was the only person at the end of these long chains of blockchain transactions that had put his, Swedish driver's license on his Mt. Gox account, right? So what happened with Roman, and in Roman's case, they never found the private keys. They didn't have the Bitcoin Fog ledgers. They had no communications of him with anybody running this. What happened with Roman is they went in, and if they did this with actually fiat cash currency, you'd all be screaming, because it'd be like if you went to a Starbucks, you paid $20 for a cup of coffee, and then Starbucks gave that $20 bill to somebody else, and like 10 transactions down later, it's given to change to someone at CVS who buys a gun and murders somebody. It'd be like the government coming into your house and arresting you for that murder. That's what happened to Roman. I think a big thing that we need to do is normalize financial privacy. And actually, I think financial privacy should be considered a constitutional right. And I don't think that people who want financial privacy should presumptively be considered criminals. I think you need something more than that. And I think we've lost that in this like zeal to prosecute, and this paranoia being fostered by the national security state and by industries that make a lot of money from doing this kind of tracing, and government agents that make a lot of money when they leave public service and they go into the private sector with the companies that they're hiring when they're in public service.
I think that our hope is, in the last 4 years, we've seen an overly aggressive SEC, CFTC, Department of Justice, and in an area, and Tim, also I want to talk about the gaming space, but in the digital asset space, where there's gray or uncertainty or clarity, rather than clarifying the rules of the road, just bringing an enforcement case and trying to make law, as opposed to make law through enforcement, as opposed to through regulation, or actually more importantly through legislation. So Tim, tell us a little bit more about your market and how you navigate regulation. If some of our work, my firm is called Delta Strategy Group, we do work with companies that have event contract markets, and that's another area where there's a lot of tension between the regulators and the market participants, people who want to innovate and bring products to market that people want, but they're faced with, you read the news about Kalshi. Crypto.com now has some like a Super Bowl title contract Predicted has, stuff up there, and I think Robinhood may now too, I don't know. So how do you look at the regulation and navigate that if you're trying to start or, grow a business?
Yeah, so two parts. Let me start with the beginning. I'm not a gambling operator, I'm a technology company. We hold the patents for the core infrastructure of every live stream event for betting. That's everybody. So our licensing plan over 15 years is enormous. 2041 till we go to. As we move into this space, as we know, crypto is not maybe in Wyoming. I think you can do it. We're planning now to release a Sportsman crypto platform. And what will happen in this space is I'm building. I'll back up a second. I made the decision after the election. Multiple things are happening. The Prevail Act is one of them. Tremendous, I couldn't believe it. I was meeting with Sussman Godfrey as they were looking at doing a contingency plan with me. As you know, they took $800 million on Fox News. So they considered it, but they kind of said, well, you have a one-on-one challenge. So that's changed. That's changing. The pendulum is swinging to inventors to go back to the constitutional rights. You get a patent, you own that offering throughout the United States in that space. So that's that portion. It couldn't be more exciting for me. So we're now going to build the platform for sports betting. It might be similar to the multi-state alliance Megaball, but I'm building it. And that's going to be one platform. It's going to be for all my patents, which is everything from micro betting, dynamic betting odds, geolocation, geo-comply loss or patent. I have it because it's orientation of position.
So for ring fences, you only bet.
Yeah. So imagine Uber, right? It's the same concept that you're moving and you're doing something. We have it laid out specifically how I wrote the code originally in 2018. So all sports books use my patents. So now what do? Well, it makes sense to merge and now launch our currency. And so we will be the only offering for micro betting. In the States, we might do coins for the states and individual coins for the teams. So that puts us in a place to build a complete end-to-end transactional, secure platform. That's Sportsman Gaming. And that is going to be aggressively pursued. And we will use our patents to back that up. And remember, every live stream of data, timestamp it, open the betting window, set the dynamic betting odds, all that thing is our core. And so that's what we'll be moving through. And we're going to have to go against all the regulations. And I couldn't be happier. President Trump not only released his coin, but Tuesday he'll probably sign into legislation. As we all know, it's going to be a wonderful thing because it's going to put us in a position to do what we want to do. We've talked to the states, and we've already kind of let them know that we're coming in to build that unified global platform for micro betting. I own that offering. I own it outright, and I'm sure there'll be a debate about that, but that's my right as the patent holder and the inventor. So we will hit this regulation head on as we move into the space, and we will be pushing for these tokens to be used across the board, not just Wyoming, but we're hoping, even with the Trump coin, that will add to that need and want. But 162 coins for every professional team individually. You stack those up, they get a little. It should be interesting how it unfolds. And so that's my goal.
Jenny, I'd love to hear about your fund's investment thesis and how you see that changing, if at all, given the new administration. Obviously, people are optimistic, and I have thoughts, but you're professional, so your thoughts.
In 11 years of crypto, I have not seen this much enthusiasm, and we're talking about globally. I'll chime in first on the Privacy Act because I've seen a lot on the regulatory front, unfortunately. We all carry wallets on the inside of our suits, not our cash out front, all right? Because we know that there's a certain criminal element in society that's out there to get you, right? So we'll have second thoughts. Well, guess what? At least the same percentage, if not higher, of that criminal element of society works in government. In fact, a much higher percentage. This is why you need financial privacy, Because there's more criminals in government than any other society. Okay? So that's why you need financial privacy. That's why you need your wallet on the inside of your suit, because the most criminals are working in the government. Just a thought, okay? For the past 11 years, a criminal organization by the name of JP Morgan has been going to governments around the world, smacking them on the back of the neck and telling them, hey, you better tell your banks not to touch crypto. Because I want to own that industry, not your banks. Right? They went to the FDIC, they went to Bulgarian Central Bank, and I spoke with the governors of that bank, and they're like, JP Morgan came into our offices, smacked me in the back of the head, and was like, tell your banks not to touch crypto. Who are you? You're American bank coming in a sovereign central bank and telling them how to run regulations. They went to the 2019 Regional Bank Convention of American regional banks and told all the banks, guys, crypto is dead. Dump all your blockchain projects as they launched JP Morgan Coin. And
Bank of America,
right?
they have to talk to Neon.
So this is why you need privacy, because the biggest criminals are in government. And usually government gets hijacked by other criminal organizations that tell them how to behave. Well, hopefully we're on to some change, but as we heard from a lot of other panels, we owe it to ourselves to take a significant step forward to make sure that whatever changes are made now are not going to be unwound in a year or 2 or 4 years, right? And that this becomes permanent as the Constitution. Now, from an opportunity perspective, I'm extremely optimistic because the economy that we are inheriting right now is in depression. A quarter of our banks are literally insolvent. We just issued $1 trillion in the last 2 months of US treasuries. If you bought treasuries in September, hoping to make 5%, bad news, you lost 10%, because they've lost 10% of their value since September.
That's against what? Like, what are you measuring that against? Bitcoin or against?
No, just in dollar terms. So if you bought a US government bond in September for $100 face value, it's now worth $90. Literally. Because the yields have gone up 1%. So we, in 97, when I graduated out of college, I remember a study coming out that 72% of the US GDP was small businesses. You know what that percentage is right now? 36. We are living in a monopoly economy, right? Where JP Morgan has 25% of all banking in the world. Do you think that's healthy? So, and you cannot have an economy with 36% small businesses. You basically don't have employment, you don't have entrepreneurship, you don't have anything new going. But the good news is we've got blockchain, which effectively enables each individual to contribute and not be centralized into a monopoly economy. And because of that, I think we're going to have some really innovative financial methods, i.e. tokenizing real world assets, tokenizing businesses that will finally bring back financing to small businesses. Since the 2008 crisis, no bank has financed a small business anywhere in the world. It's anathema, basically. The only way you can finance a small business is with credit cards or with private debt, private debt, which comes at the small amount of 148% interest, right? So I think we will see a massive jump in tokenization of everything business related, which will unearth peer-to-peer
Yeah,
financing.
decentralized or disintermediate the unnecessary intermediaries.
Correct, because the current way of financing is big banks give $20 billion to a private equity firm, which then dishes out loans at 148% for small businesses. 148% per annum is the interest that private equity firms charge small businesses. Sure, I thought was illegal, right? But I think, and for the first time in crypto industry, that's going to come to the US.
So real quick, your investment, how are you positioning your fund based on this change? Are you doing anything different than you're doing? I don't know your fund, so maybe you're just long buying and holding digital assets, and you're going to continue to do that because it's all, or what are you doing differently?
We've certainly been very active in the liquid issuance, and that's where we've made a lot of our money. We're also active in the newly developed crypto derivative market. But what I'm most bullish about is real world assets and tokenization of real world assets. Earlier, previous panel was talking about real estate. Real estate is unfinanceable at the moment. I think we'll have a massive unlock in real estate with real estate tokenizations, giving investors a real good yield, at the same time giving developers finally cash to develop, and solving a housing crisis that's unfathomable at the moment. Right? We talked about mortgage earlier as well. Do you realize that 50 years ago, the average American family owned a home without a mortgage, had one income in the family, 2.2 cars, and college was $1,000. Now the average American family has not 2.2 cars, but 2.2 jobs.
Yeah.
1.7 cars, $650,000 in debt, and college is $80,000, right? So clearly, as the previous panel talked, middle class has been completely milked until blood came out.
Yes.
So that's time for to finance that middle class to get back to normal.
Steven, you're a movie star. You are you're
Almost. I got saved.
Tell me what you've been thinking about as we come into this new administration, what that means.
Well, I got myself in a lot of trouble. I drive a 30-foot mystery machine. It's out front. You guys should see it when you leave. My CDs are back there. I'm performing tomorrow. As you can clearly tell, I'm one of the last people to be invited because they had to shoehorn me up here out of like a fish out of water, right? So I'm a success story in the making. I traveled the country. I couldn't, for the impeachment trials with the lies. I traveled the country fighting, for election fraud, all of these things. I lost all my platforms. You know what happened, the suppression, freedom of speech. All my platforms got taken out. I lost my fiance. I lost all of my real estate business. I lost everything standing up for the truth. I traveled. I was at dozens of Trump rallies. I'm trying to throw this all in because this doesn't fit up here, but I'm performing tomorrow. That was the main reason. And I want to get back to health. You guys should, to spend all this money, you have to be healthy. So I'm here on the Make America Healthy aspect. This QR code is a website I created, Healing the World. And when you heard Ken speak about those 800,000 cells, and we're creating in each moment and all of that, I start my days by manifesting. And that's why I have this beautiful dog, which is my therapy dog, which saved my life as I was losing everything and penniless. Short time ago, I couldn't pay my cell phone bill. But by tapping into this power, this is the most important. This is, making money is great, but the most important thing that saved my life was being able to tap into our divine power that we have within us. You should subscribe to this because Ken is going to hopefully be bringing one of his green light therapies tomorrow. He didn't get to talk about it. You can only do so much in 5, 6, 7 minutes here. So I lost even my agents and managers. I was on the brink of getting the big roles on TV. So, but I believe God had a plan because on my birthday of 2021, when I was at that low, when I lost everything, I get emotional. I was looking to be saved. And you can call it God, you can call it the creator, you can call it whoever that is that saved my life, because I was on my knees asking, saying, what am I doing wrong? I'm standing up for the truth that I know is right, and I'm losing everything. What's going on? And I had an intervention that kicked the living shit out of me that night. I thought I was going to die. I thought that's what it was like before you die. You get judged. I was getting judged. I got put through something that I've never experienced in my life, which was scary. But as the days went by, which I figured out what happened, and I can sit here today and say that I connected into the Christ consciousness or the divine consciousness within me. I started to tap into that power because I asked for help. And I wrote a song about it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, everyone. I get that. I have the coin on that. It's a Q. Thank you for coming. Not QAnon. Q is you. Q is me. Q is the egg. When the sperm goes in, that's the Q. That's what Q is. That is life, the moment of conception. I wrote a song. I asked God to help me write that song. I tapped into my power. I went down by the stream by my house, and then one day I wrote the song. I never wrote a song before. And I'm here to tell you the power of the manifestation. We're in Ohio next week. We're doing a pop-up. 20 people are driving from across the country to get treated. Because we're changing lives, health, it has to happen. Technologies have been suppressed from us. You know that. Tesla, you've heard Tesla. There's a Tesla coil in this. I didn't have the direct wires today because I didn't want to get tangled up. There's a lot going on. Real science is coming. Real technology is coming. The truth can no longer be hidden. Trump has been draining the swamp. The External Revenue Service, I'm going to give you a couple of rabbit hole truths. The External Revenue Service is no more income taxes. That's what the tariffs are going to pay. Aren't you excited about that? You're not going to be paying income taxes in a short while during this administration. Okay? There's been a power structure. The swamp is drained. Deregulating, you guys are going to be happy about this. The deregulation across the border coming, all of this is coming. But if you're not healthy and you're not tapping into your power, you can't enjoy these things. And you can, I don't have full abundance yet. I'm in the making. But a short while ago, I couldn't pay my bill. Now I'm here driving and speaking to you, and I'm performing at a presidential inaugural ball tomorrow. That's the power that's within. I want people to start your day, 15, 20 minutes. Start your day. My day. I start anyone follow Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza. Ken sent me a book a year and a half ago. I read it. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I listened to the audio book. I got out of my head the programming. I turned the phone off in the morning. I started to get into the gratitude, 0.1 hertz, connect the brain to the heart. It changed lives. It's why I'm here. You need to put a little bit of that. You don't need to. You don't have to listen to me. You can turn this right off. But I have this dog. I manifested this dog. It took a few weeks right after that book. She's nothing but pure love because I brought her straight out of the quantum field where everything already exists. That's what they took away from us for millennia. They poisoned us. They took everything away from us. Most important thing, money's fantastic. They don't want you to know how powerful you are and what you have inside you. Because what we have inside is what's coming out now. It's the truth. It's the divinity. And it is us that are changing the world. And if you just tap into a little bit, if you're not already coming, you celebrate it as if it already happened. That's why the dog is here. That's why I'm here. That's why I have 3 singles. And if you want to, my QR code's back there. If you want to listen to what you're going to be hearing tomorrow, it's tenortalk.com. My music videos are right there for free, right on my website. Get a taste of what you're going to hear tomorrow. That's why I'm here, for health and to meet and to learn. I'm learning so much. So the crypto, the blockchain, everything, I'm learning so much. And it's such a pleasure and an honor to be amongst all of these amazing, life-changing entrepreneurs. It's amazing. And a shout out to Sophie and the team to get this together, to put this together. So, round of applause for them, please.
Definitely a round of applause for the organizers of this conference. I think that concludes our panel, and I really want to thank everybody for being here with us. And Let's give these guys another round of applause.
Yeah. Let's get a photo, guys. Picture time, picture time. But we say that was a high-powered panel, guys. Way to finish it off.
Let the truth come out.
That's right.
Nothing can stop what is coming.
Hey, Randy, I got another home run for us, man. This 2-bit exchange is absolutely amazing.
Hey, Bruce, what's up, man? Yeah, why don't you tell me about that 2-bit exchange?
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to be able to list our coins that we want that we support, and they're going to be on this amazing derivatives platform. It's absolutely awesome.
Derivatives? I love derivatives. I can't wait to be on the trade copy program.
So what I want you to do is set up an account and then send me your UID, and let's set you up with a trade copy system, and you just let it run. Copy our trades. That's it. Easy peasy.
So you want me to open an account, send you my user ID, and you hook me up with the trade copy system. I can't wait. Sounds spectacular.
Hey, Matt. Hey, listen, I met with the guys at 2-bit Exchange while I was in Dubai, and this platform really looks amazing.
Yeah, hi Bruce. Yeah, thank you again for that heads up. I mean, I've looked into this 2-bit platform. It does appear to have everything we're looking for.
Yeah, that's right. 2-bit, T-O-O-B-I-T. They have great liquidity. They have futures platform. There's a lot of functionality that I think you're gonna like on there. And they really want to work with us. They want to work with the Impact Money Show. And as you and I both know, if they have a good product and they want to work with us, well, hey, that's half the battle.
I mean, basically, I love that copy trade facility. I love the features on the platform. It's basically very simple to use.
Our viewers only need to set it up to copy our trades, and they just do all the trades that we do. Makes it really easy for people to participate. I think they're going to love it. I'm pretty excited about it.
And yeah, it's definitely going to benefit people. I mean, obviously with all the years of experience that we can pack into it, and people can basically benefit from that. Yeah, I definitely think it's a goer.
Hey, David. Yeah, man, I'm excited about it too. I mean, when you think of the ways that we can help our viewers earn money and be able to participate in the monetary revolution, this 2-bit platform just opens up all kinds of doors that they don't have right now.
Hey, Bruce, I'm checking out this platform. It's revolutionary.
That's absolutely correct. And the futures platform is amazing. Great liquidity. And the copy trader program, people are going to be able to make the trades exactly when we make them and make the money that we make. It's a win-win for everybody.
Open for U.S. customers, and you can deposit money with a credit or debit card. Doesn't get better than this.
Beautiful. And what do you think we should use as a referral code?
I think we should use Impact Money. That's the one. Impact Money.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.